The Walk to End Alzheimer is in Schenectady on October 4th this year, and we have some really inspiring individuals with amazing stories in here today that help share their stories. And we want to just first of all for you guys to introduce yourselves and tell us what role you'll be playing on Saturday. So we'll start here with Sally.
Okay, I'm Sally Heller, and my role on at the Walk is I'm working at the refreshment tent.
Oh, okay.
And hopefully being able to do the walk as well.
Yeah.
And being the purple flower holder.
And obviously the flowers all represent something for you.
Yes.
What does the purple one represent, so people know?
It represents someone that you've known who died.
Okay.
And in my case, it was my husband who died last February. And he died of Alzheimer's. And he went very quickly.
Yeah.
He went only about 5 years, which is considered quick.
Yeah.
And it was, it was just a long, it seemed like it was long and drawn out, but in reality it wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we had so many plans for our future. We were going to go on cruise, and that never happened because he had just gotten diagnosed. And we were going to be celebrating our 45th wedding anniversary this year. And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm sure it'll mean a lot to be able to represent him in this way. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. We'll continue to go down the line here. Team Runyon.
I'm Kate Runyon. I'm the primary caregiver for my dad, Peter. And I've been really honored to be able to, help take care of him. We had some concerns about a year ago. He was living down in Georgia, and we just really weren't comfortable with him being alone and not having family around him. So we went down and got him and brought him up here, and he lives just down the road from me now.
Yeah.
So it means a lot to me to be taking care of him. He took care of me, and it's important to give that back.
That's what family is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you'll be also with a flower, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be the yellow flower holder.
And that
for the
one
walk.
represents?
Someone who is taking care of someone with Alzheimer's.
Okay. Peter?
My name's Peter Runyon. I am an Alzheimer patient. I had a younger sister who was, 13 years younger than me, who developed Alzheimer's. And I was amazed at how, I don't know if it's the right word or not, disturbing it was watching somebody with Alzheimer's. I was a GE engineer. They transferred me to Georgia, so every Christmas I would drive north, and at the Georgia border I'd stop and I'd get grits and pancake mix and all this sort of stuff to bring it up north.
Stuff they didn't have up north.
Stuff they didn't have up north. I grew up in New Jersey eating grits with eggs and bacon and Tabasco sauce, which my dad got hooked on being a kid in Maryland, in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And as I said, my younger sister contracted Alzheimer's, and one December day I'm driving north and stop at their apartment on 6th Avenue, New York City. They look out the window, they see Central Park, all this kind of thing. And my brother-in-law made some dinner, and there are a bunch of plates around the table, and a plate is put in front of my sister with Alzheimer's. She's 60-something years old, that thereabouts, maybe 58 to 60-something. Her response is, and there's a fork and a knife on the side, the table's set. Her response is, what do I do with this? And that almost blew the head off my shoulders.
Yeah.
I could not believe, how can you be 65, eat 3 meals a day, and forget what you do with a plate of food.
Yeah.
And that still sticks in my head.
Shows you just how impactful it can be, not just for the person, but for those loved ones around, as you all attested to.
That's correct. I haven't gotten to that stage yet.
Yeah.
And whether I never get there or not, who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah. When you know, when your family comes and supports you, I guess what's that mean? I guess how did that process go? You know, to come back here and work with all that and
It wasn't that difficult.
yeah. Kate, was it difficult to make that decision? To you know, for the extra, make sure that the care was that what he needed it to be?
We all discussed it within the family,
Yeah.
and we were all in agreement that we needed to, you know, go down and get him. There were some financial scams going on, and the credit union had called me, and they had concerns about him,
Yeah.
and I think they could tell that, you know, he needed some help, and, you know, for years we had noticed his struggling with his memory and repeating things sometimes, and had been trying to convince him to move back up here so he would be near us. And so, you know, the time came, we all agreed that we needed to go down and get him. And so he's been back up here for about a year now. And it's really nice having him nearby. He
So I was
was
gonna- I was
far
gonna
away
ask
for
that.
so many years.
Yeah.
So I know my brother and I are really enjoying, you know, having him close by and spending more time with him.
Yeah, the benefit there.
Yeah.
To get that time together. And I know, you know, from others, you know, I've spoken with, and even in my own experience as well, as a family, it's definitely, you know, it's never an easy, you know, conversation, or even it's probably hard sometimes even get on the same page is what I've been told. And in terms of what do we do next, right? How does that conversation work? You know, I guess is it a process? You know, is it easy to get on the same page about it?
You mean with the rest of the family?
Yeah, in terms of saying, okay, here's the next steps we should take.
I don't think it was terribly difficult
Yeah.
for all of us. You know, we had each seen, you know, signs here and there, and once he was up here, you know, I started working with, you know, getting the information I needed to move forward, and, you know, with the health insurance, and getting him doctors up here so that we could have a neuropsychological
Yeah.
exam that he needed. And, you know, it was hard to keep, you know, talking to my dad, like having these things come up that I knew I needed to go over with him, and, you know, knowing that he wouldn't be thrilled to hear that information or those questions, or, you know, to have us concerned. And, you know, there were some times that we came to him with, you know, these concerns, and he said, well, I think I'm doing just fine. And, you know, he's a very proud person, and it was hard for him to, you know, to come to the understanding that, you know, some things needed to change. And so I guess I just encourage anyone who's, you know, got concerns about a loved one to be persistent, and, you know, if you have those concerns, to keep talking to them, you know, over and over if you have to get them to the doctor and have them checked out.
A lot of patience required there.
A lot of patience
On
required.
both ends.
Yes.
Right? On both ends.
That
Yeah.
it is.
We
Yeah.
have a lot of conversations, you know, over and over, and that's okay. He forgets, and, you know, we have to remind him what we talked about. And I know it was really hard for him to stop driving, and, you know, there's been a lot of hurdles to work through, but I'm really proud of him. He's taken the news really well.
Yeah.
So, I think he knows that, we're trying to take care of him the best we can,
Yeah.
so.
Sally, you spoke about testing and trying to make sure, that there's an understanding of kind of what's going on. Were there signs with your husband?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would forget what he was talking about. There were little things in the beginning, like he'd look in the drawer and think there were too many spoons or forks in the silverware drawer, and he'd take them out and hide them. And, at first it was kind of funny, but after a while it was getting irritating. And we kept saying, Tim, things are okay. There's enough forks and knives and all for everybody. And he would just fight with me tooth and nail about it. And I'd say, okay, fine. Just let him go with it. And it kept getting more and more frustrating as it went along. And when he lost his license, he was really angry. He was angry at me for taking him for the evaluation. He did very poorly on his driver test.
Yeah.
And he just didn't want to sit there and listen to her tell me what he did. And, I could tell he just wanted to get out of the room.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad for him. But he accepted it, and we moved on. And, we were able to get him into a couple programs through Schenectady County Office for the Aging. And we got him into a day program up in Malta, Key to Independence. And they're a fantastic program. I can't say enough about them. But it gave my daughter and I a chance to have some time to ourselves.
Right.
Because it gets very stressful.
Yeah.
And as it went along, Tim would have accidents in bed, and it meant that I had to get up, change him, change the bed, and I would get 4 hours of sleep a night. And and I got very irritated.
Yeah.
And, my daughter would say, Mom, get out of the house, go for a drive, go somewhere. And it just, and it got to a point later on where he would get so sick. He had extenuating health concerns, which put him in the hospital twice. And the second time around, we had to try to find a place for him, and we couldn't. We were also trying to apply for Medicaid for him. And we had been moving assets all around with our attorney, and by the time we got everything all set with the attorney, he died. And that happens. He was only 69 and had only been retired for about 4 years. I still have trouble wrapping my head around it sometimes. It just, it can either go a very long time, 20, 30 years, or it can go 5 years, as in the case of my husband. And you just, you've got to take each day at a time and be thankful for each day that you have with him, because the next day isn't guaranteed.
You don't know what you're going to get next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you speak to so many, there's a lot to that of, how society cares for the aging population. You spoke to resources that are available, you spoke to ones that aren't, and the frustrations around those. And I think, as the population gets older, a lot of these things are going to continue to come up, and that's one of the reasons why we're here, is to try to tell these stories to let people know that there is a need, and I think the other aspect is you speak of some of those early signs and of there's been advancements in the last few years made that when there are early signs, some of those can be addressed to extend, some of these, some of the life and the viability and everything like that. And, I think you all spoke to that of where and when do we start to ask those questions, right? And I think that's...
The best thing you can do is to educate yourself. And the Alzheimer's Association has excellent resources, as well as an office for the aging. And I read just about anything I could get my hands on, just to learn about the stages. I took care of a gentleman several years ago who had Alzheimer's, and that was my first introduction to it all.
Yeah.
And back then, it was just 3 stages. And I was with him for about 1.5 years before he died. But now I think it's 7 stages now that they talk about. And you just gotta take it as it comes. And when you get towards the end where they're having more accidents, either in bed or falling, that's when you really need to be careful with them and hopefully find a place for them. In my case, my son and daughter-in-law volunteered to take care of him during the last 4 months of his life. And we hired aides to come in for 12 hours a day, and then my daughter and I would fill in as needed so that my son could get some sleep. And it was heart-wrenching every time I went over. And that last week, Valentine's Day was very good. I had a great day with him. And I played some classical music for him, and he went to sleep, and things were great. And then he got up later and had to use the bathroom. So I took him, and on the way back, I told him how much I loved him and that he was my knight in shining armor. And he knew that I was his wife, but he didn't know my name. And after I said, I love you, he said, I love you too. And that was pretty much the last time he ever spoke. And I know every time my sister hears about it, she cries.
Yeah.
But just from that day on, that last week, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was one thing after another, and he died a week after Valentine's Day. And it broke my heart. Still does.
Yeah. I think those, you speak to the daily, trying to take things as they come and just live in that day.
Yeah.
I can say that from personally, my family, of experiencing that and talking to someone like my mother, care for my grandmother, of saying, just taking it day by day. Today was a good day. Went outside and enjoyed the sun, and you talk about those little things of remembering, at least that you're his wife, and.
Yeah.
I'll call my grandmother and she'll recognize my voice, and say, oh, hi, Tommy. I think those are the things that I think go a long way when it comes to the caregiver aspect. The other thing, too, that sticks out is you talked about some of the resources of getting together and having the community interaction. And that's also what I've heard. Is that something that you've been able to take advantage of at all, Kate, in terms of your father, of being able to have some interaction with others, or is that still something that you're looking for when it comes to the resources?
So he is alone a lot, and we did start recently to find a place for him, and we approached him about that about a week ago, and he was really open to it. You know, we explained that, you know, we don't want him to be alone all the time. He does have an aide that comes over 4 days a week. And so we talked to him about, we found this really nice place. And he hasn't seen it yet, but he'll be seeing it this coming week. And, you know, just him having a sense of community and having people around him. He's a really intelligent, social person and really enjoys talking to people and telling all of his stories. And I think it'll be really nice once we get him into a place like that, because that's something that my brother and I just can't provide for him.
Right.
He's in an apartment, he's by himself. You know, I try to get over there as much as I can, but you know, when we set up the aid, it was just, I'm a single parent. So I'm trying to juggle, you know, an 11, an 8-year-old, and then also take care of my dad, and it's challenging at times. So I'm glad that we called in help, you know, when we needed it, and I think it'll be really good for him to have a sense of community once we get him there.
Yeah, it was interesting when my parents made that decision with other people. It was, my grandmother's name was Dorothy, and it was one of the first times in a long time that there's so many people, instead of, we call her Graham or whatever, calling her Dorothy. You know what I mean? To have that sort of interaction of the name attached to her personality and everything went a long way.
Yeah.
And at this point, you've probably heard all the stories, right? No? Actually, one that she didn't hear, right? When we
Sometimes
walked
I
into
hear
the-
new stories, and I'm like, oh, it's a new story. But
Back to moving out of this apartment. I'm in an apartment that's 2 stories, and the second floor has kids in it. And they run around on the ceiling, and it sounds like they're running in clogs, wooden clogs. Thump, 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 thump,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to going somewhere else.
Yeah. And is that, you know, obviously, like, we joked about the stories, but I think that you have a lot to tell, right? I mean, you have a lot of history. You talked about overseas. I mean, that's important stuff, and that society would benefit from that, I'd imagine, right? You probably think so, too.
yeah, everyone tells him to write a memoir, and
See?
we talked about, we're going to get some of his stories on like audio recordings.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of stories, but occasionally I talk to somebody and they'll say, you should write a book. And my first response is, who would buy it? And they say, your mother. Okay.
Daughter,
I sell a book.
maybe.
I would buy it.
She could write
I'd
the
buy it,
forward.
Dad.
But, yeah.
What's that experience been like in terms of transitioning here for you to this point in your life?
Not that difficult,
Yeah.
I would say. I wasn't expecting to come down with a serious disease or anything of that sort, but knowing that my sister had it, some of my other siblings may come up with it. Who knows?
Has it changed how you look at the world at all?
Not yet.
And you would have been, I think some of it is too, you were familiar with it because of your sister,
Yes.
right? And I think a lot of times people don't fully understand it until they're touched by it, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, you're someone that has been touched by it in a couple of different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But so I'm imagining that probably you had an experience with this before, or was this obviously was the most intensive of
Yeah, this
knowing
is
what this
definitely
was
the
all
most
about.
intensive.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know, when my aunt had it, you know, she was down in the city, and to be honest, I really didn't get it, and I regret not reaching out to my uncle more, checking in on them, but I didn't get it until it happened to my immediate family. And, you know, I think my biggest takeaway from it, it's definitely, it may not have changed my dad's perspective on life yet, but it's changed mine. And, you know, it's really allowed me to live in the present because, you know, we don't talk a lot about like future stuff and things like that with him because, you know, he can't remember those discussions day to day, but what he has is right now.
Yeah.
So we just try to enjoy right now with him and be a part of that with him. So, you know, it really teaches you to live in the present.
Yeah, it's kind of what Sally was alluding to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something, again, with my sister, in New York City, I couldn't hazard a guess how many people may have Alzheimer's, but there were a lot of programs to help these people.
Yeah.
And the Art Museum of Harlem, I don't know if it's a couple days in a month, once a month, something like that. People with Alzheimer's are invited to come in. They give them white pieces of paper, paint, brushes, and they can paint whatever they want to paint. I do have a painting that my sister made, and I think each of my siblings each have paintings that she made too. And that impressed me, that somebody had the sense to say, these people aren't worthless, they have very little to do, and here's something that can keep them occupied for a while.
You can create something.
And make
Yes.
something beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Obviously, we're doing this with the Walk to End Alzheimer's coming up. For you, why is this an important event to be a part of? You know, with this many people and a place of walking and showing, I guess, solidarity in one way or
Yeah.
another with others. I guess why is it impactful for you to be, and what does it mean to you to be a part of this?
For me, it's giving back to the Alzheimer's Association. And just being able to reach out to other people and talk with them and let them know, hey, you know, you're not the only one going through this. There are people available you can talk to. And, you know, the first time I went on one of the walks, it was 3 years ago. And I had no idea what to do or anything. And people said, oh, come on over here. Well, you know, let's sit you down and find out a little more about you, and we can, you know, move from there. And I went to last year's walk. I think I did 2 walks last year. The one in Schenectady and one up in Glens Falls. And I was able to talk to other people.
Yeah.
And it made me feel a whole lot better about, you know, what I was doing and how I was dealing with it. And this year, some members of my family are gonna also do the walk with me.
Yeah. I'm sure that's important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Kate?
Well, this is my first time doing the walk, and, you know, I started a team and decided that, you know, I wanted to do this for my dad, and then we ended up with like one of the biggest teams, and I just feel really blessed to have people joining our team and, you know, coming together to support my dad and me and my brother, and so that'd be really nice, and it'll also be nice to experience that, you know, sense of community, and because even though, you know, I do have a few people in my life that, you know, have been touched by Alzheimer's, and I'm really fortunate to have folks that I can reach out to, my uncle who took care of my Aunt Polly, he has been really instrumental in, in giving advice and things like that. So just to have all those people come together and be a part of it and walk with us is important.
Yeah. Coming together and Team Runyon. That's the,
I'd like to add that
Yeah.
my other sibs, my older sister and 2 brothers, all have some of this artwork that Polly did from the Harlem Museum.
yeah.
It's not a picture of anything you can recognize, but it doesn't have to be.
It's impactful.
It's what was in her brain at the time she did it.
Yeah. As we get closer to the walk, your message to families, friends, others experiencing this, whether they're experiencing it or not, I guess on the inside or the outside.
Good question. You have to have a fair amount of patience. And large amount of understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And love, right? I think I've all spoken to.
Yep.
At the end of this, there's a lot of love here.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of this is, and that's why we're here to help people understand that at the end of the day, and why this is important, and why the money being raised is important, and that it's going towards helping people like
Yeah.
you, right, and beyond. So thank you all.
Oh, sure.
Appreciate you sharing your stories. Looking forward to Saturday, next Saturday,
Yeah.
and we'll be watching for you, you know,
Well, thank you.
in your roles. So thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to help
Yeah.
spread
Yeah.
Yeah.
spread the word.
Yeah, it's part of our job, you know. There's some tough things in the world that we have to report on, but this stuff is tough, but still try to make it impactful too. So that's what we're here for. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.